Today I'm going to be breaking down Rhythm and Blues by Ayra Starr, where as usual I'm going to be talking you through the various elements that I'm picking up on as we go through it. Now before we do actually go ahead and get into the video, if you're interested in my setup, i.e. headphones, mic and camera, there are links to those in the description below, so if you want to check those out then you can. Also, if you are on TikTok, you want to drop us a follow, you want to show us some love, then by all means feel free. Let's get into some new music. Nice transition.
You giving me energy. I don't lose my composure. Come me losing
harmonies.
Control. Giving me more than I need. Everything where you carry for body. Even if what I carry me pepe. No fit to revise you my oreke. My reading my blues.
Okay, right, so we're about to get into the pre-chorus, so let's cover off what we've heard in the intro and in the first verse. Okay, so kicking off with the intro as we always do. So the first thing to pay attention to are the percussions. They are in there from the get-go. No slow build-up at all on that front. We've also got two additional layers at play, especially at the beginning. So we've got the obvious one, which is the pulsing type keys, dunna, 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 and there is another layer buried real deep underneath that, which is much more consistent, but don't worry too much about that because it's hard to hear. As we progress on into the intro, we get the bass, but pay attention to what's going on with the bass. It's on and off. It's not consistent. So on, off, on, off. And we also hear snippets of Ayra Starr's vocals, which essentially is just kind of queuing you up for the first verse. We get transitioned out of the intro with a hit, but what happens when that hit hits, we also get an effect, this sound effect, right, which is quite high. But another thing that I want you to pay attention to is the whooshing sound that happens on the kick drum as we hit that first verse, right? Again, very subtle. It's not there for long. It kind of just hits and then fades out. Now, getting back to the bass, what you notice when that first verse comes in, the bass goes from being on and off to being a consistent bass. And then, of course, we get those signature vocals from Ayra Starr, which are absolutely stunning. But pay attention to how they begin to build on the vocals. So we start out, we've got the lead vocal, but as we progress on, they begin to layer, they begin to harmonize some of those back end phrases. Then it gets more consistent. And we also get some vocal runs in there as well. And just to kind of top it off, the way in which they transition us out of the first verse into the pre-chorus, which we're going to listen to in a bit, is they just use the same transition that took us out of the intro into the first verse, which is that hit and that sound effect. So let's go back, let's listen. Percussions, keys, more of a consistent layer underneath. Bass in now. Listen. Off, on, transition. Now listen to the bass, how much more consistent it is. Harmonies. Giving me more than I need. Everything where you carry for body. Even if what I carry me pepe. No fit to revise you my oreke. Transition again. My activity or reading from Monday to Sunday. Say you be my goal. Mess you and everything I go do for my pepe. My reading my blues. My activity or reading from Monday to Sunday. Say you be my goal. Yeah, not everything I go do for my pepe. My chicken, my muse. Everything my pepe. My reading my blues. So many things you did do. Nobody do me like you do. My chicken, my muse. Everything my pepe. So many things you they do nobody nothing carry you play a fit to lose. Okay, right, so we are about to hit the second verse, so let's cover off what we've had in the pre-chorus and in the chorus. So the thing that I find most interesting about this segment of the track is that if you didn't know better, you could easily think that this was an extended chorus. Because there's no transition. There's no indicator that says, yes, we're moving from the pre-chorus into the chorus. Now, on top of that, the lyrics in both the segments are very similar. But I can assure you, we do have a pre-chorus and we do have a chorus. Now, what I want to draw your attention to is what they're doing vocally. And this is something that they've been doing since the first verse. But what they do vocally in the pre-chorus, they build on the vocals again. You notice that when we hit that pre-chorus, there's definitely much more layering, much more harmonizing of Ayra Starr's vocals. And it makes perfect sense because when we hit that chorus, those vocals are full on. Right? They're big, they're present, they're wide, they're panning left and right. They've got a spaciousness to them. And like I say, it makes sense to build on that as you lead up to it so that when you hit the chorus and those vocals become full on, it doesn't sound disjointed. It just sounds natural. Now, the final thing that I want to draw your attention to is the additional layer that happens in the chorus, right? It's at a higher range. It comes in every now and again. On the first segment of the chorus, it's dung, dung, dung. And then on the back end of the chorus, it gives us a slightly different rhythm. So let's go back. Let's listen to those elements.
Giving me more than I need. Everything where you carry for body. Even if what I carry
right, pre-chorus coming in.
To revise you my oreke.
Here.
My reading, my blues. My activity, your reading from Monday to
Listen
Sunday.
to how they build on the vocals.
Everything I go do for my pepe. My reading, my blues.
There.
My activity, your reading from Monday to Sunday. Say me my goal.
Right, chorus now, listen.
I go do for my pepe. My chicken, my muse.
Much bigger.
Everything, my pepe.
There's that additional layer.
So many things you do, nobody nothing carry you play I fit to lose. Carry my love, put it all on you, and I get the money for two. Over my retina when you come through. Now you be my person. Forget teach that I need blessing. Other guys you don't teach me lesson. Say not only you ain't no distress. Person. My jigga, my muse. Everything.
Okay, right. So let's just very quickly cover off the second verse because we are about to hit the chorus and then we'll go into sort of like the bridge and the outro. So let's cover off the second verse. Okay, 3 things that I want you to pay attention to within the second verse that do not occur within the first verse. So the first one is you notice that the bass gets taken out. Right, it's completely gone from the mix. We've had it in the mix all the way up until this point. Hit the second verse, gone. The second thing that I want you to pay attention to, again, we come back to the vocals, right? What they're doing with the vocals, they've mixed them up. And I'm not just talking about layering and harmonizing. If you pay attention, you notice that there's some call and response vocals going on in there. That's definitely something we did not have in the first verse. And then a final thing I want you to pay attention to is the transition that's used to take us out of the first verse into the chorus. Right, and that's another thing to kind of make note. You know, this time round, there's no pre-chorus. We just go from the second verse into the chorus, right? So they're really mixing stuff up. But what takes us out of that is that transition. But we don't just get a hit this time. We get a hit and then we get a slight roll and boom, we go back into the chorus. Right, I'm going to take it back. Maybe not all the way, just a few, but just listen to some of those elements, right?
Like you do, my chicken, my muse. Everything, my baby. My reading, my blues. So many things.
First coming in.
Nothing carry you play, I fit to lose.
No bass.
Carry my love, put it all on you, and I get the money for two. Over my retina,
there you go, responses.
Now you be
again.
My person. Forget teach that I need blessing. Other guys you don't teach me lesson. Then not only you ain't no distress.
Transition.
My chicken, my muse.
Into the chorus now.
My reading, my blues. So many things you did do, nobody do me like you do. My chick on my muse. Everything, my baby. My reading, my blues. So many things you did do, nobody do me like
Opal
you
runs.
Carry you for my head, my shoulder. Back up on you, my knees and toes.
Into the bridge now.
Nobody do me like you do. Carry you for my head, my shoulder. Back up on you, my knees and toes.
Okay, right, we are in the intro, and just before we sign off, I have to talk about the chorus and the bridge, because do you know what? From a production standpoint, it's just smart production. So the reason why this part of the production is so smart, and when I say so smart, I don't mean in terms of, oh, it's genius, right? It's just a smart way of working. So here's what they've done. they've taken us back to the beginning at the start of the second verse. There's no bass. Why is there no bass? Because there's no pre-chorus, right? Why is there no pre-chorus? Well, because there's a bridge. So think about it in this way. If they had stuck to the arrangement that we had in the first segment of the track, we would have had the bass in the second verse. We would have had the additional layer, right, in the chorus that we spoke about earlier. And then they would have been left with a decision of what we're going to put in the bridge. Because we have to have something different in the bridge, right, to what we've had in the verse and the chorus. And what that would have done is potentially risked overproduction, right, making the bridge sound way too cluttered with instruments. So what they've done is they've gone, I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll go back to the beginning. Second verse, we'll remove the bass. We'll put that into the chorus. That additional layer that's in the chorus, we'll take it out of that and we'll put it into the bridge instead. And we don't have to do anything and we don't have to risk overproduction. Now, that's what I mean about smart. It's a smart way of working, right? So if you are an aspiring producer, you need to make notes of this stuff. Let's go back, right, to the to a little bit into the verse, and then you can hear how that builds, and it's pretty much just taking us back to the beginning, right? Let's go.
Money for two over my retina.
Right, no bass.
Now you be my person. Forget teach that I need blessing. Other guys, you don't teach me lesson. Then not only you ain't no distress.
Right, bass coming in now. And this is the chorus. No additional layer, listen.
So many things you did do, nobody do me like you do. Magic on my muse. Everything my baby, my reading my blues. So many things you did do, nobody
Bridge.
do me like you do. Carry you for my hand.
Now that chorus layer is in.
Now you behind me and no one so bad. Nobody do me like you do. Carry you for my head, my shoulder. Back up for you, my knees and toes. Now you behind me and no one so bad. Nobody do me like you
Outro.
do. My baby. Nobody do me like you do. Baby, nobody do me like you do.
And you can hear actually, just as we've got into the outro, they've given us an additional layer. You can hear it, right? Listen. There. And it's there again. Bangs, mate. Okay, that's it for me. If you want to see more breakdown and analyses videos, there'll be things popping up on the screen right now. Other than that, don't forget to like, subscribe, turn on post notifications, and I will see you in the next one.